Hey, Mom. Hey, welcome to your favorite podcast, Letters to an Imperfectly Perfect Mom. This show delivers parenting, positivity, and a promise for moms to know we don't have to be perfect. Each week, we want to inspire you to take what you hear, develop your knowledge, improve your habits, and boost your confidence. All of that is to help you be a successful mom for your children. Remember, it's okay to be imperfect, and that's exactly what makes you perfect. Now, here's your host, Coach Dina Michelle.
This episode of Letters to the Imperfectly Perfect Mom, we're going to talk about going with the flow. So, dear mom that wants to control everything, you're just like me. There are so many things that have happened to me in the past week to where I have started a new job. Was unavailable to be there in my children's schedule, helping them to get to their practices, helping them get to their games because they're all in sports year round, which I am so proud of them and do not want to take that away from them. But then we had to create some things because me having this new job has helped me not to be available for them at all times to make sure that they're getting to their things that they need on time. So part of that, I had to go with the flow. So going with the flow, rolling with the punches, accepting the change without getting angry or frustrated, taking life as it comes to you rather than trying to mold it and make it exactly what you want it to be. I had to learn to do that because a lot of times, and even in this week, some things will cause me to get angry. Some things are causing me to get disappointed. Some things are stressing me out. And I had to realize that I needed to take care of myself first. I needed to get into a space to where I'm able again to take care of myself as well as take care of my children. So then in this scheduling and rearranging of this schedule, because now I have this new full-time job, which is something that rarely happens for my household. Normally I'm there to be business owner, stay at home mom. So I'm able to get them to their events and to things that they need. But now being single, I needed to now supplement some income. So I had to take on a full-time job. And so with that, again, I was unable to get them to all of the things that they needed to get to. So with going with the flow, I then had to realize that I needed to keep the job and not quit the job just so that my kids can get to these events, because there are a lot of other single moms out there, single dads, single parents, even married parents who still work full time and their kids are athletes and their kids make it to practice, partly because I was one of the parents who would take some of these children and students and athletes to practices and to games so that they can get away. So then I had to let my kids then learn to go with the flow and ask their fellow athletes, fellow teammates to help them to get to practices and get to games. They had to ask their auntie, ask their uncle. They began to have to utilize their resources and build their own support system around getting themselves to practice. So that was one thing that I had to go with the flow of just keeping my job, keep working, keep going, because that is something that I have control over. At the same time, it is something that I want to be able to keep utilizing, and we had to go with the flow. So some practices they were late, some practices they missed, but we had to then go with the flow and become aware of these are things that now we need to plan ahead for. So there's not anything that we can wait till last minute, or my children learn that it's not something that mommy's just going to be there and do for us. Another big thing that came up for me where I really realized that I needed to start to go with the flow is because, again, I'm recently divorced, single mom, 4 children, 3 teenagers, 1 6-year-old. So a smaller kid. So going to be doing this for a while. And we have been moving from Georgia to Milwaukee, from Milwaukee to Arizona, from Arizona back to Milwaukee, from Milwaukee back to Arizona back to Milwaukee. My older 3 lived in San Diego and then came to Milwaukee. So we have been not really stable for a while. So my biggest goal was for me to purchase a house and we be able to stay settled in one place and not have to continue to be moved from place to place to place. I wanted a place for us to be settled. So my credit was over 700. So that way I can get it. I was beginning to, again, I have this job. So I was beginning to get my down payment together. So I got to a certain amount in my down payment. So that way I was able to purchase a house. So then again, kind of with the schedules, I can use this down payment to either purchase a house or I can use this to purchase a car. So then that way my older boys who are beginning to get their license and working towards that can have a car to then help to supplement some of this back and forth of mom traveling to have to get them to all of these things. So with that, I'm deciding on home, car, home, car. And so again, my credit was great. It was wonderful. Again, I'm newly divorced. I monitor my credit because that's what I've always done, making sure my credit and everything is together. Budget, like that's just me. Plan everything. Watch your credit, do your budget, planning a schedule, planning chores, chore charts. I need to be in control of things as much as possible with my scheduling. So that's how I worked and operated. So with this, I checked my credit score on Monday, only to come and find out that my score dropped by 125 points. So I go from 700 to now I'm in the 500s. And I am outraged to the point where I was getting frustrated. I was angry. I was disappointed. I'm like, oh, this can't be true. Like, what happened? I've been paying all my bills. Like, it's happening. It's going on. Only to come and find out that my ex-husband did not pay his car note and my name was on his loan. So then I called him, not trying to be as agitated or angry or frustrated as I really wanted to be. But then he said some things like blaming it on me, like it was my fault because I have him on child support, that he was unable to pay this car note. So then that then began to make me infuriated to where I began to get angry. I began to get upset. Like, you know that I was trying to buy a house or buy a car and then you not pay this car note. And his thing was, I forgot it was attached to you. I forgot you were on it. I figured if I just paid the one car note that was yours, then it wouldn't affect this one. And I was like, I paid my car note. So we were going back and forth of paying it and who it, and in actuality, we just was beating each other up with these words of who fault it was. It came to the point where, you know, who's in a worse off situation than who, just so that way no one can take control of it. And ultimately it had to come down to communicate whether you're able to pay it or you're not able to pay it, because this is affecting both our credits. Our name are on both of this. And I was trying to purchase a house. And so then I still was getting frustrated. I'm like, oh my God, now I have to wait for 2-3 years to have, you know, great credit history again before I can buy a house. Like, I want to buy a house now. That was part of the plan. That was in the goal. That was what I set forth, was to really, really, really purchase this house. And then I listened to this message and it was like, go with the flow. Spend my time going with the flow, going with the flow. Talk to my therapist, going with the flow, going with the flow. And there was so many things talking about just going with the flow. I then had to stop and realize that the flow could be, number one, I don't have to purchase a house on credit. I can save up money and just buy me a house outright with cash and fix it up. That could be one thing. Another thing, somebody can possibly purchase a house and give it to me. That could be something. I can inherit a house from some other place. Like, something can happen to where I get a house and keep my kids stable, because I'm still in my mind thinking I got to get a house. I have to own a house. I have to purchase a house. So like, that's where my mind went to. Let's plan around something else. So let's plan to save this money so we can purchase a house outright with cash. Like, let me put a budget together. Let me figure this out. Let me maneuver through this. So I'm really like I'm like, now the ex-husband don't want to give me any money because he worried about his fixing himself and getting himself out of debt, not worrying that now I'm going to possibly go into debt because now he's not contributing to the household, threatening to take me to court and take it out and have the judge do all kinds of stuff. So it's like, oh my God, like, I need to make sure that we are stable. Like, that's my ultimate goal, is to make sure that me and my 4 children are stable. So then I had to remember, go with the flow, go with the flow, go with the flow. So then I had to make myself realize I cannot control what somebody else do. So I have to now stop budgeting whether he's going to give me child support or not, because I can't control whether he's going to give it to me or not. So I can only go by the budgeting and things that I have that are within my source and that I can control. So I can control going to work, making sure that I do what I do, making sure that I create my outside sources for my business, that they're bringing in extra income. So then that way I'm having some control over making sure that these things are coming in. So now whatever he contributes to this household is now extra. It can go towards my savings. It can go towards extra things that my children may need at that time. So I have to remember and realize that I cannot control everything and just go with the flow of things that I cannot control. I had to be aware of things that I'm good at, things that I'm not good at, things that people around me are normally typically going to do and how they're typically going to behave. My children are going to want to make sure that they're at practices, they're at games. How they get there, we're going to have to go with the flow. So teaching my children to also go with the flow and planning ahead. But then if something happens, we have to go with the flow. Things are happening for a reason. I have to make sure that I'm breathing, I'm taking it in and understanding that the calmer that I am, the better I am to go with the flow, the better I am to come up with ideas and to even look around me and find the resources that are around me. Because then I came to the realization when I did those things that me and my children right now are stable. We live in one of my grandfather's unit. It may not be as big and as large as any house that we have ever lived in. It might not be as extravagant as any house that we ever lived in. However, we are stable. We won't have to move. I pay him rent. If something was to happen as far as an emergency go, he will understand that I might not be able to pay him the full amount of rent. But knowing who Dina is, she's going to pay something. But that then still puts us in a stable place to where we are not going to have to move unless we want to. So then that just made me think, go with the flow, Dina, go with the flow. You might not need to purchase a house right now. You may need to take this time to make sure you're using all your financial resources to make sure that your children have the life that they want for their last couple of years that they're in high school and they're moving on, to make sure that they are ready for college. They have everything that they need. If they want to be athletes and they need cleats, they need basketball shoes, they need pads for football, they need track shoes, they may need all these things. And me going with the flow and not having to have the responsibilities of owning a home right now will help me to make sure that I have the things that they do. So I have to go with the flow. So whether it means me staying with my grandfather, I am still doing what my ultimate goal was. And my ultimate goal is to make sure that my kids are stable. So living with my grandfather in his unit creates stability for my children. And at the same time, it's a part of their support system, which is a part of my support system. So I have to remember that I had to go with the flow, because going with the flow, again, provides me with resources. Because if I owned a house right now, the roof may leak, and then I may have to now take resources to fix a roof. Then paying for my baby some cleats, or paying for my baby to be a part of this AAU team. I can then go with the flow, because owning a home will have to require me making sure that I have to pay a mortgage every day before they may come and be like, you can no longer be here. We're taking your house. I can go with the flow of making sure that we are stable, making sure that I may not have to choose between making sure this landscape is together so that Milwaukee won't come and find me for not having my landscape together because they see the outside. I can go with the flow. I won't have to have an expensive water bill that I then have to take care of, and choosing between this water bill and making sure that this is paid because this is my responsibility, and making sure that my kids have shoes and clothes and food so that they can eat and so that they can look nice and so they can be presentable, so they can be confident in what they do, so they can go out and do what they needed to do. I learned that I had to then go with the flow, because this may be the flow that God has for me and my children right now, where we're not wanting for anything. We don't need anything. All our wants and all our needs are taken care of. And at the same time, now I have cushion, I have savings, I have something that if something happens, that we will still be okay for a while, until I can make some things up and continue to create some things, or even wait for the source to continue to provide me with those things, because I am going to go with the flow, because I know that he will always be there for me and my children to take care of us. Because one, I realized that I cannot control everything. I secondly became aware of things that are happening and going around that I have to now not let upset me and just realize that I have to go with the flow. I can only act on things that I know that I have, that I can control. I then had to breathe and make sure that I am taking deep breaths. I am meditating. I am getting back into my positive atmosphere and not allowing anyone to pull me into a negative situation and taking on their negative energy and bringing it into my environment. I then also had to get perspectives. I had to talk to my therapist. I had to talk to my friends. You can always ask for help. Again, I listened to my positive affirmations and the positive things that I had around me, which gave me a deeper perspective to help me to know that I needed to learn how to go with the flow, not get angry, not get frustrated if things are not working. Now my credit score is jacked up, and now I'm realizing that I can't go finance a car. I can't refinance the one I got. I can't buy a car. But I then had to get the perspective of right now may be the time for me to stay where I am because my children are still stable. And at the same time, I am able to replenish my financial resources and at the same time being around my support system. So again, one, I had to realize that I cannot control everything. Two, I had to become aware. I had to breathe. I had to get a different perspective from somebody else. And then most importantly, I had to then practice all of this. So as things were coming up and happening, because then even after that, other things were happening and going on, relationships around me were happening to where it was bringing back some trauma things because people are doing some of the things that happened to me when I was married and going through my divorce. And now other people are having those same things and telling me these things of what are happening in their relationship. So I had to practice setting my boundaries and letting them know that, hey, this is not something that I want to be a part of. Here, you can try talking to a therapist because I have one. And so then that way I'm not having to take on that extra burden and I can continue to go with the flow and go with things that are happening in my life. So I had to practice my meditation. I had to practice breathing. I had to practice realizing and telling myself that I cannot control everything. Some days I may become the Zen master. I'm able to meditate. I'm able to get into my quiet space when things are happening so that I can continue to go with the flow. And as you heard, Monday, it was one of them days where I had to let out some of that tension in a different way because negative energy was brought onto me to where I let some out verbally to him, which did not make anything right, didn't make anything better. So it wasn't until able to calm down that things became back to being more calm and a different solution was hashed out and made. And then I also have to be nice to myself. I have to understand that I have to do this in baby steps, that everything is not going to come to me immediately. I can put it out there in the atmosphere. I can pray to God. I can put it out there, speak it into existence. I can do all those things, but it's still going to take time. They're going to come in their time. So I need to still continue to go with the flow until those things happen and they manifest in my life. They're not going to happen overnight. So I have to realize that in my first step of me putting it out into the atmosphere, me believing it, it's not going to instantly come to me. Some may instantly come to me for things that I put out, but other things are going to take a whole lot more practice and a whole lot more of me speaking those things into existence and me believing those things, even when it don't look like it's going to happen. I have to remember that if I keep speaking it and I keep believing it, that it's going to happen. And it's going to get easier if I continue to practice these things, speaking them, putting them out there and bringing them out. Then the last thing I had to do, because not the last thing, one of the things I also had to do, but the last thing that I did to help me to get back into my nice, calm, relaxed, pleasant, positive energies thing is I had to laugh. I had to have fun because laughter, honestly, truly, I don't know who said it, who came up with it, but laughter is the best medicine. Laughter always makes me feel better. It makes anybody feel better. So again, I had to do stuff that were going to make me laugh, make me feel good, make me feel joyous. So nothing like that is for me is watching my boys play basketball. So we had a game. So I watched them play basketball this Monday night. And when my son officially, as I like to say, he been did it, but I had to get some ruling on that where he dunked on somebody. And so he had a poster. So that just made me laugh. Like, where they do the head, like you dunked on somebody's head. That brought me so much joy, brought me so much pain to, not kind of laugh at the other boy that he dunked on, and again, it still made me feel better that my son got an actual dunk on somebody. And then it was hilarious, even more so because the lady next to me, it was not her son, but her son was on that team. But she said, "Oh my God, this is so stressful at the end of the game." And I said, "This is stressful for you?" I said, "Oh no, this is not stressful for me. This is an actual self-care technique for me." And I said, "I enjoy it." I said, "Because I get to scream and yell and let some of that negative energy out, and nobody's going to say anything to me because I'm telling my boys, go, dunk it, turn around, use the backboard." So I am getting some of that frustration, some of that anger out and screaming. And then again, to watch my son dunk on somebody, again, brought me joy. Watching them win, whether they win or they lose, watching them get out there and play their hearts out and enjoy is also something that brings me a lot of pleasure. So enjoying watching my boys play sports. And then now even more so joy, my daughter then joined the basketball team on Tuesday. So then I got joy in knowing that she was enjoying it and she wanted to continue, because if you know my daughter, she does not want to do anything. She's that typical 14-year-old teenage girl where I just want to sit in my room on my phone, talk to my friends, go to the mall, get my nails done, get my hair done. Like that, she's that typical, I want to stay in my room and don't want to be bothered girl. And the fact that she went to basketball and loved it and wanted to join and want to continue to go forth with playing basketball brought me a whole lot more joy. It brought me on having to add an extra schedule, but I am more than willing to help her figure it out, get it together and do it. That just brought me so much joy, even after all of that things. But again, I had to go with the flow. I had to realize that that was just a moment. I had to keep moving, keep going with the flow. Life, the universe, God is going to bring me exactly what I need when I need it. I have to continue to speak it and believe it and watch it come forth, that everything works out for Dina's good. And you need to remember and keep saying that everything works out for your good, and say your name. Don't just for my good, say everything works out for Dina's good. And then you insert your name in that. Again, as I've always said in a lot of these things, I keep a journal. I write it down. I don't write down so many bad or upsetting or negative moments. I try and do a grateful journal. So I write down all of the things that happened that were good and that were wonderful, but I do write down the lessons that I'm going to learn, or that I did learn that day, or what I'm going to redo. And I do a self-reflection of things that I want to make better. So not necessarily wrote down the bad things that happened, but I said, next time I'm just going to have to communicate with my ex-husband on a regular basis to making sure things are done. But in this point, we don't know if that's going to happen because so much of the negative energy has been going forth. So we've decided now that we've created an account that both of us have access to. So then now both of us can check. So if somebody has not paid it, the other person can pay it. And if somebody wants to contribute some money back to the other person, we know each other's account information and we can just send that money over. So again, whether he sends me child support or he does not send it to me, I have not planned my life around me getting $0 from him, and I will continue to keep doing that. So that was a lesson that I learned, that I no longer have to depend on outside sources for funds. I'm going to worry about myself, and I'm going to continue to budget, and whatever comes in now goes to this category. It goes to saving, it goes to investing, it goes to giving, and it'll go into giving something for my children. So that's, if comes in, that's what it'll go towards. Again, I still constantly meditate, so I try and spend as much time as possible. Was a part of an informed trauma class a couple of weeks ago. And in that, they gave me some advice, because I'm like, I can't clear my mind. Like, I'm such a thinker, such a planner, that in my meditation time, I'm, having to recite something or listen to something, which takes me to somewhere else. And so they suggested me being in a car and driving and then trying to empty my mind, because I'm paying attention to the road. So I have been trying that, and that has been helping me to then, when I'm getting home, I have a little bit more clarity, or I have a little less things on my mind, because for that 10-minute drive that I was in the car, I was just focused on just driving and getting home. So then that took my mind off thinking about my day at work. It took my mind off thinking about what I have to do when I get to the kids. It took my mind off of doing that, because I was 100% focused on the road. So even though my mind was not completely empty, because I was focusing on the road, I was not focused on what was, what will be, what should be, what done. I was focused on making sure that I could drive home, and I didn't have any music on. I didn't have any of that on. So that then now became my meditation time. I also had to realize I can't control others. So I can't control my ex-husband, what he's going to give to me, what he's going to do. I can't control my kids and their frustrations and the sports that they're going to do and how they're going to react. I can't control other relationships that I have. I can't control my support system. I can't control my credit. I can't control my savings and the money that comes in to a certain extent, because things happen. I have had tax people, federal, the state, come in and just take money out of my account and not even knowing. So those again were things where I just had to go with the flow, recreate it, redo things, figure it out. So again, I had to go with the flow. I had to literally go with the flow, because I had to realize I can't control outside sources. I can't control others. And then I had to learn how to accept change and accept not being perfect, that I am imperfect. And again, that's kind of the focus and the theme of this podcast, is that I'm perfect being imperfect. So I am imperfectly perfect, and I am okay with that. I have to understand that things are going to change. Things are going to happen, and I need to go with the flow. Things are not going to work as according to plan that I have so perfectly laid out that it's going to work. And I believe that it's going to work, but I have to realize that I'm going to make mistakes. Somebody else is going to come in there. If it factors in other people and change it, if it factors in finances, they may not come in. They may not work the way I wanted to. So then therefore I have to realize that again, things are going to change. I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. I have to give myself grace and go with the flow. Lastly, I have to learn that I have to enjoy it. I have to enjoy and embrace the flow. Because whatever it is, again, I have to remember it's going to work out for Dina's good. So I have to remember to ask myself over and over again, why does this happen? Why do you think it's happened? What are some things that it's going to affect? What are some things that it's not? And just realize that in all of this, it's going to work out. It's going to bring me joy. It's going to bring me peace in the end. I might not know why it's happening right now in this moment. Eventually, I will know if I continue to go with the flow and work it out. It's going to happen for me. It's going to move for me. It's going to work out for my good. It's going to work out for Dina's good. The world is not out here to harm me. It's not here to bring me any joy. It's only here to bring me joy. It is not out here to cause me any pain. It is only here to bring me joy and cause me to have a beautiful life. And beautiful life sometimes includes chaos, going with the flow. And then I wanted to leave with the thing that I heard on the speech that I was listening to earlier, where it said, which one would you want to really do? Would you really rather fight going upstream against the current just so that you can make it to the top of the mountain so everybody can see you? Or would you rather go with the flow of the water, with the current of the water, and make it to the destination, to the mouth of the water, and enjoy it and look at it and see the fish and all of the life that sits there and is created, and enjoy that? Or would you rather have struggled to get to the top of the mountain just so everybody can see you, or you're tired, you're hurting, and you're in pain just so other people can see you? Or would you rather go with the flow and enjoy what the stream is giving to you at the end? And you're able to enjoy it, you're in peace, and you're loving it. So which one would you want to do? So I am Dina Michelle, and I am here just to let you know to go with the flow. Welcome to Air Dina Michelle. Should the cabin lose pressure, oxygen mask will drop from the overhead area. Please place your mask over your own mouth and nose before assisting others. Enjoy your flight. We hear this every time before we take off in the plane. This is true for our everyday life. We need to take care of ourselves before helping others, and that includes the children who are around us. Let the coaches at Dina Michelle help you to learn to take care of yourself first to be better for the children around you. Coaching works on the idea that you have all of the answers inside of you. The job of the coach is simply just to help you realize your potential and be confident in yourself as you are imperfectly perfect. Our caring and knowledgeable coaches at Dina Michelle are standing by to help you solve any painful or difficult parts about caring for children. Whether you need help with challenging behaviors, dealing with trauma or stress, or if you just need basic best practices, or you just want to boost your confidence, we can help. Coaching Calls with Dina Michelle is designed to help you to map out a path that will help you to reach your goals and make life easier for you and the children you care for. When you're ready, you can connect with one of our awesome coaches. To schedule a call, you can go to www.denamichelle.com. That's www.dinamichelle.com. Or you can email us at teamdm@dinamichelle.com. Or you can reach us by phone at 414-207-4525.